everybody. Kevin J. Johnston here. Welcome to the Tax and Money Show that runs every single Tuesday, normally at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Today is a special time, which is 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and only because TikTok decided to shut us down in the middle of our live last week and then gave me a 7-day suspension. Oh, why would they do such a thing? Well, because I am highly, highly critical of anything to do with liberalism, the Liberal Party, Canadian elections, and so on. Now, here we are. We're going to talk about the election for a little bit and how this whole thing is going to affect all of you. Yes, I did watch the election. Yes, if you go back and watch some of my previous shows, I explained to you that the Liberal Party was going to have the assistance of China, as Trump says, China, to get into power, to rig the election. I'll give you just another brief reminder of something that I have done. Is when I ran for mayor of Mississauga back in 2018, it was positively remarkable that about 3 to 5 quadrants of the city had power failures. So there was no power in the neighborhoods that they knew that I was going to win. They also didn't advertise. The city did not advertise where you could vote for mayor or for anyone for that matter inside of the city. And on top of all of that as well, they decided to file false criminal charges against me for hate speech only because the psychopath Bonnie Crombie, who the not so clever people of my hometown chose to elect, didn't have to debate me. That's how filthy politics are in Canada. And if anybody's asking what the real solution is, if it's going to be for you, the individual person, is to leave. Make money, leave. If it's you as a society, full bore revolution. But I can't sit there and tell you that you should do that. Because that would be a crime. But I can say that that is the only solution that is viable if society as a whole decides they want their society back, which Canadians would never fight for. So I'm not going to sit here and make this a harangue of insults. I'm going to just tell the truth about what has happened in this election. And what I can tell you about the election process, of course, all elections in Canada are 100% rigged. China has way too much vested interest in Canada to let it go, as does the radical Islamic groups that control the entire Greater Toronto area. They actually control 9 cities in that entire area, and they don't want to let that power go either. Now, the reason that everyone's asking me, why did Trump want Mark Carney to win? Because Mark Carney is terrified of Trump and will do whatever Trump says. That's why. Did you not think that through for a second when Donald Trump decided to shoot his mouth off about the Canadian elections? And it wasn't an announcement. It was just an offhanded remark about the fact that he wanted to see Mark Carney win. No, he did not say that Mark Carney was the better choice for Canada. No, he did not say Mark Carney was going to stimulate the economy or make the country better. None of that was said. He just said he had a preference for Mark Carney to win. Why? Because Carney is going to do whatever he's told to do. What does all of this mean for Canada now? Well, you all have to remember that Mark Carney has not lived in Canada for the better part of a decade, and he completely destroyed banking in the United Kingdom. He's an Irish citizen, for God's sake, so it's not even like he's a Canadian. And that is the big, he has a Canadian citizenship, but he is very far removed from the country. He did nothing in any way, shape, or form to show that he cared one bit about Canada, period. But the Liberal Party, knowing that Trudeau was a joke and Trudeau would lose the election, decided to make Mark Carney their leader in not even a proper leadership vote, which should be illegal, but it's not. And then Mark Carney decides to call an early election, which is something that you can do in Canada. In fact, in Canada, the way the structure works is that you can win an election on Monday and call an election on Tuesday. You could do that the very next day. So I just wanted to let everyone know that as far as I am concerned, and as far as any brilliant economists out there are concerned, Canada is now officially over. It's done. It ain't coming back. The Conservative Party is never again going to hold power in Canada. So we've gone from the frying pan to the fire, and then the whole stove was dropped into a volcano. That's how bad things are now. Now, It's honestly, it's kind of good for me. Now, let me just speak a little selfishly here for a second. No, I did not want Mark Carney to win the election. No, I actually didn't want Pierre Poilievre to win it either, because there's no way for him to fix all that nonsense. But what I can tell you here is that I was rooting for at least 1 or 2 seats for the PPC party and at least 1 or 2 seats for the Libertarian Party to start to shake things up a little bit in Parliament. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. The New Democratic Party is probably going to lose party status. Thank God for that. And Jagmeet Singh lost his seat, and thank God for that. So Jagmeet Singh no longer has any political power or influence in the country at all. That's a good thing. Now what I find myself wondering is, will he get deported back to India to face terrorism charges? I'm wondering about that one. So let's discuss what happened. Let's bring up the map. I know that on Kick and Instagram and over here on TikTok, you're not going to see this, but I'll describe it for you. Here's the map. It's the Liberals lost the people, but they kept the throne. So Liberals managed to cling to power and rigged the system, propped up by the NDP and the Green sellouts. Conservatives won a lot of votes. They got a lot more votes this year, but they did not win the seats, and that's the problem. There's 343 seats in Parliament. You have to win 172 for a majority government. I just got to say, thank God that the Liberal Party did not get a majority government. So they're going to need the other party that finished third, Bloc de Québécois, to join forces with them to get a majority vote. And if it does not benefit Quebec, the Bloc de Québécois, who they're a federal party, but they only care about Quebec. Well, if it doesn't benefit Quebec, they're not going to vote for it. So we at least can say this. Carney is going to have a difficult time getting any laws passed. That's good, especially for me, because now the way that it's going to function here is every single solitary thing that I do to hurt the Canada Revenue Agency and take money away from the Canada Revenue Agency and give it back to my clients and give it back to Canadians, they're not going to be able to write any laws for the next 4 years to stop me. So that means I have 4 years to work very hard with you and you and you and you and everybody else that's going to watch us at a later time. We can form an army now and take the CRA down. That's right. We can take them down because they are not going to get any new power in the next 4 years. I doubt for an instant that Pierre Poilievre is going to vote in conjunction with the Liberal Party on anything. So why don't we all start making some real money here? Why don't we all as Canadians stop fearing the Canada Revenue Agency and realize that this minority government, although the bad guys won, still can't do anything new. They will drain as much money out of the country as they possibly can. But collectively, with me doing your taxes and you working with me in the tax arena, getting taxes back, we can probably bankrupt the CRA. I'm just one middle-aged guy with gray hair. But if all of you join me in this fight, we can bankrupt them. And that would be a good thing. Be a very good thing. Let's go back to the slide here for a second. So, democracy. When you have a map that is drawn to drown out your voice, then democracy cannot function. And if you have a look at the way that Canada voting works, essentially, as soon as the Eastern time zone, which has big cities like Windsor, Niagara Falls, Hamilton, London, Toronto, Mississauga, Brampton, Whitby, Kingston, and Ottawa and Cornwall, when all those cities are done voting in conjunction with Montreal and Quebec City, that's it. The election is over. There are not enough political ridings or political seats in Manitoba, the 3 territories, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia, to outdo whatever Ontario does. And that was done deliberately back when Confederation was formed, which means that even though the province of Alberta went almost entirely conservative, and so did the province of British Columbia, it doesn't change anything because they're federal and Carney is in the way with 100 and 63 seats. What does that mean for Canada? Well, what it means is that Saskatchewan, Alberta, Northeast British Columbia, and maybe a little bit of Manitoba need to leave Canada and join the United States or become their own country. Now, I am quite familiar with politics. All of you know that I've been following politics full time for almost 25 years. And I can tell you that in reference to anything to do with Canadian politicians, there's no strong leadership in Canada of any kind. So if those provinces became their own country, the United States would just take it over anyway, because there's no leadership. There's no strength. The judges are cowards in these places. The politicians are cowards. The cops don't even know how to fight. It's not good. We need to have these provinces join the United States as maybe the 51st, 52nd, 53rd states. That would be absolutely ideal. And then Canadians will finally get a taste of what it means to make some money, because America is all about making money. You can make a ton of money in any state in the US, even Alaska, whereas you cannot make money in Canada, not unless you're me, not unless you take my guidance and my tutelage. Then and only then will you make money in Canada. So it would be a good idea if you live anywhere that's not the province of Alberta. Talk to me. I know 3 very good real estate agents who can get you into a house for a little bit below what the listing price is going to be. You might want to make sure you own a house now in the province of Alberta, because if Alberta splits, anybody who owns property there is instantly going to get American national status. You don't want to be a citizen, because then you have to pay tax anywhere in the world that you go. But if you're an American national, you get all the privileges of being an American. You just can't vote, and you don't have to pay tax if you don't make money inside the USA. US national status would be fantastic. I think all of you should be aspiring right now to get your hands on that kind of a thing. All right. Let's have a quick peek here at some more information. So if you have a look at this photograph, I know you can't see it on the other social media platforms here, but this is Pierre Poilievre's writing. That's right. This ballot had 91 names on it. None of these people took it seriously. None of these people had any intentions to win the riding whatsoever. But when you put 91 names on one ballot, and the guy who is running in that riding is running for prime minister, then you know that it is a tactic to help him lose, because it confuses voters. It splits the votes, because there could be a Pierre Poilievre and a Pierre Paulson and a Pierre Peterson and a Pierre whatever. You could put all these names in there, because you know that the average person pays attention to nothing, and the average person gets everything wrong. And they're going to think, oh, I want that Pierre guy to win. And now there's 20 Pierres on the same ballot. I mean, Poilievre is a ridiculous last name. It is extremely unmarketable. And the way that it's spelled, Poilievre. Now, how would I pronounce that in English? Poilievre. That's how I would pronounce that. So how would you know, if you didn't speak French or have any inflections in your language to be able to comprehend French, know that that's the correct Pierre to vote for? It's rigged. This is not democracy. This is what we all call sabotage, everybody. It's sabotage. And all of you are being played. So if they did that in his riding, imagine what they did in all the other ridings in Canada. Just thank you to the person who took that photo. We have no idea who took that picture, but thank you for doing so. So you've got Pierre Poilievre was completely hosed. That's what they do in Canada. It's the same thing they did to me. Remember when I ran for mayor of Calgary? What happened? They ran out of ballots. That's right. They ran out of ballots somewhere around 6:30 in the afternoon. Do you also remember when I moved to Calgary in 2021? It was February of 2021. I immediately filed a motion in the courts, in the Calgary courthouse, to get a court order to eliminate the use of voting machines in the city of Calgary. And I won. And they went ahead and they used the machines anyway. So court orders in Canada don't get followed by anybody who works for government at all. Why do we have to follow them? I'm not going to follow them. Any court order that's given to me, I'm not going to follow. I'll appeal it immediately and delay it and delay it and delay it. But I promise you this, I'm not doing anything any Canadian judge says. Why? Because they don't have to do what they say. So I don't have to do what they say. And fortunately, like I'm hoping most of you do, I have removed myself from the jurisdiction of these judges and crown attorneys and whatnot who want to imprison people like myself and people like you. And so I should. Not one bit interested in spending any more time in the Canadian court system. It's boring. You have no clue, people, how boring it is to be involved with Canadian cops. They really think they're interesting people. They're not. The crown attorneys think that they're tough and mean and whatnot. They're not. They're mean, but they're not tough, and they're not interesting. And the judges, they sit there with their black dresses on, and they bark and shout commands out, and they speak this weird version of English that I know because I've studied law, but the average person doesn't understand. So the country is completely done, everyone, which is why I'm telling all of you, stop paying tax. My God, stop paying income tax, stop paying GST, stop paying your payroll, stop paying everything. And if you want to know how to properly stop all that nonsense, just hire me as your tax guy and I'll take care of it all. All right. So think that through. Pierre Poilievre got hosed. You saw the 91 names on one ballot. I'm curious to know how many names were on the same ballot that Mark Carney was on. Probably 4 or 5. All right. Carney's plan to kill the middle class. Massive tax hikes. So fuel, heating, groceries, they're going up again. Now, you remember, I was complaining when I first moved to Calgary, again, February 2021, I was complaining about food prices in Alberta. And then just 3 years later, what did I do? I took my video camera into Sobeys and into Co-op and a few of the other store chains they had there. And I was showing you the prices of things like a roasted chicken, a bag of Doritos, eggs, milk, butter. I was showing you prices. We did comparisons of prices in 2023 versus 2021. Now, and butter had gone up $3 a brick. Milk was up $1.50. Doritos doubled in price. Chicken went up 3 times to 4 times the price. Positively disgusting. But that's how you destroy the middle class, is you price them out of the market. All right, then you've got wealth and capital gains. So what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to get into law a 66% tax on capital gain. Now, if I'm your tax guy, even if you have 500 rental properties and you sold them all on the same day, you're not paying capital gains tax because you're not legally obligated to report that. It's none of their business. Everything that you tell the CRA is completely voluntary, but the average person doesn't know that. And not everybody watches this show, so they don't have access to that particular information. Getting back to Carney, he's going to be wiping out jobs. So we've got oil and gas and trucking in the province of Alberta right now is doing okay. But I can assure you, with all of his green energy plans, oil production will probably drop right back down to 2 or 3% where it was about 10 years ago. Not a good thing. What does that mean? Gasoline prices are going to go up. Yeah. And many of you probably are not going to be able to drive your cars anymore. Alrighty. Let's go back to this Mark Carney guy. So you have factories are shut down. Prices are going to explode. And something I actually wanted to maybe reflect on here. I had a friend of mine. He had a warehouse in Vaughan, Ontario. Vaughan, Ontario is just one city north of Toronto. And it is where that big amusement park is, Canada's Wonderland. Vaughan it's pretty big now. He had a warehouse in Vaughan. He couldn't afford the electrical bill anymore in the warehouse. So he moved his entire operation to Buffalo, New York, and he showed me his electrical bill. He was saving $20,000 a month. Yeah, $240,000 a year he was saving just by moving his operation 80 kilometers to Buffalo. That's all he did. Now, Buffalo's not the greatest city in the world, but it's got good wings. I know Buffalo's got the NHL and the NFL. They've got minor league baseball there. I mean, there's enough to do in Buffalo if you really are looking for something to do. Plus, well, the chicken wings are good, and the chicken wings there are cheap. I'm just saying that why would you want to stay in the province of Ontario and drop that kind of money on electricity when you can save that much by going to Buffalo, New York? Well, it's about to get worse. It's about to get a lot worse. With factories shutting down, what does that mean? There's no manufacturing. What does that mean? There's no manufacturing jobs. What does that also mean? No administrative or legal jobs to go along with the factories. What does that also mean? Shipping companies are out of work. What does that mean? The trucking industry is going to have less to do. Now, what does all that mean? That actually means less tax revenue for the government. How stupid are you to tax factories out of existence? Now, the government's not getting income tax on the thousands of people that used to work in these factories. Think about how much tax the government gets. If you have 100 employees in your corporation in the province of Ontario, each employee is going to pay $26,000 per year in income tax and the CPP and EI. All right. How much is that? It's $2.6 million. They're not going to get $2.6 million now for every 100 people working in these factories, where the factories in Canada used to employ thousands. Now they're not even there. You know, factories are being repurposed now into low-income housing. All right. It's a cool idea, but the factory that gets turned into low-income housing is simply going to become an internal slum. That's what happens to low-income housing projects like that. When you convert older buildings like that into these modern-esque projects, they always fail. They always fail because in low-income housing projects, typically the people that get in there are not even Canadian citizens. They don't respect the fact that they've been given this glorious opportunity to live somewhere for free, and they don't respect the country or the culture, so they just destroy everything that they live in. They destroy their own homes, is what they do. And Shell makes a good point here about prison. You cannot do prison time for not paying tax in Canada. That's a myth. All these are got to get that stupid idea out of your head, because that idea is not even something the CRA says. The occasional representative will say that, but it's not a CRA policy because they have no laws to allow them to do so. Getting back to Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada. Fleeing investment is a very big problem, everybody. Businesses are going to the United States left, right, and center. Canadians are going to the United States, and they're getting what's called an E2 visa. I've actually been helping a lot of Canadians get E2 visas so they can go to the United States and run a business for 3 years. If you get an E2 visa and you run the business there, by the time you get to your third year, if you have even just one full-time employee who's an American citizen, they'll renew it for between 3 and 5 more years. And in that time, you can apply for it. You guessed it, citizenship. If you want citizenship faster, just get married. Marry an American. And it doesn't even matter if it's a gay marriage. You know that, right? Just get married. Yeah. Same thing here in Panama. You want to get married, or so you want to be a Panamanian citizen, get married to a Panamanian. And you can bypass all the nonsense and have citizenship in less than 2 years. These are the things you can do. So yes, I am helping Canadians get their residencies in Mexico, El Salvador, Panama, and E2 visas in the United States. Why? Because Canada's dead. It's done. It died yesterday, everybody. It's over. It is finished. The only thing you can do right now is make some money in the real estate market and possibly oil. Not much more. So Canada is officially closed for business. And yeah, David is looking for an American wife. Yes, yeah, so there you go. Any American ladies want to get married to David? David's a good-looking guy. He comes here all the time. Alrighty. So if you have home prices the way that they are in Canada right now, you know, we're talking like $1.7, $1.8 million for a 2,000 square foot house in the greater Toronto area. No one's ever going to be able to afford that. Now, a lot of my clients who want to sell their houses in Canada, nobody can afford to buy them. That's a problem. The Canadian housing market is all propped up based on money laundering. 95% of Canada's economy is based on money laundering. So when that money laundering takes place, naturally, inflation will just skyrocket to go with it. So how do you sell a house? A crappy house made of Tyvek. How do you do that if it's worth $1.8 million according to who? This company called MCAP. That's who does it. Well, some of my clients are crying because they can't sell the house. No problem. I got a solution. If you own a house that's worth that much money, what you do is we can get you a couple of loans against the house, a couple of home equity loans, and you take loans out to the value of 80% of the value of your home. And then you buy properties elsewhere around the world and rent them out on Airbnb and whatnot, and use the American money you'll make on those international properties to pay off the mortgage in Canada if you care. You may not care. You might live there for 5 or 6 months. Eventually, they'll evict you from your own home because you didn't pay the loan. So you still got the money out of it. I mean, let's imagine in my old neighborhood in Erin Mills in Mississauga, the house I bought, I paid $230,000 for it back in 2000. I sold it for $1 million. The same house today is worth $1.75 million. Yeah. So I don't regret selling it because I had to leave. I had to get out of Mississauga. I had to leave the province of Ontario. I was losing my mind there. But think about that. And I'm going to tell you this right now. The house that I bought, it sucked. The floor plan sucked. It was a big house, but because the floor plan was so terrible, it actually felt like a very small house. And it was beginning to fall apart. And I simply couldn't afford to fix it. So leaving when I did was something that I felt was necessary at the time. And I still think it was the right choice today. So whoever bought it from me, congratulations to them. They are plus 700 grand in just 5 years. Think about that. So for those who are asking about real estate, you don't make money selling a house. You make money hanging on to it. Only if you can afford to hang on to it and you get good renters, should you then hang on to your property. But we'll talk about property in a future show. Like I'm going to do a whole real estate show coming in a couple of weeks to discuss the merits of buying property and renting property because we're actually working on being able to buy homes now on the blockchain. It's a brand new thing that we plan to launch for later this year. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Okay. For those who have questions, I'm seeing the questions popping up on all the social media here. I will address questions in about 30 minutes. I still have some more information to get through. Hang on to your questions. Stick around. Anything to do with the Canadian election, and of course, taxes and finance in Canada or internationally. I will be answering all questions for the second half of the show. Alrighty. Our next slide here to do with Mark Carney winning the election. Mark Carney's blueprint for collapse. So from his book called Values, it's an awful book, by the way. It's so boring. It's an example of how not to write a book. In there, he says that profit is bad. Yeah, profit's bad, he says. And control is good. All right, let's cover that one for a quick second. The job that I do for people, when I'm doing taxes for people, depending on the tax file that we take on, some of them are incredibly profitable. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Profit's good. I like profit. I like knowing that when large profits come in, when I look at a large profit, my brain goes straight to work on where's this money going? And I'll say, okay, I've got 5 full-time people. I got 3 part-time people. I want to make sure I've got enough moved aside to a different bank account to pay them for the next 3 months. Okay, I've got the money to cover them. Good. Now I got to make sure that I cover mortgages on our office space, internet, electricity, gas, water. I got to cover all this stuff. And not only do I have to cover it in this office, but I've got to cover it in 3 other offices. So I put money aside into a different bank account for that. But what that'll do is it just frees my mind. The profit that I'm just talking about here frees my mind because now I know that every expense that I've got to cover is now covered because of this one profitable job. Now I'm thinking, all right, that's done. Let's go make some more profit. I want more profit because I'd like to be able to put away 2 years worth of salary for all my staff, earn interest on their money, and pay them as their payments are due, as their salary pay dates are due. What's that? We have another mortgage that we want to take on. Okay, let's go make some more profit and buy another place and run a mortgage on that and rent it out, make some money. Yeah, profit is amazing. Now, control? I'm going to be 54 years old this year. Now, I'm a gorgeous 54-year-old. I think that we can all agree here. But I mean, what control would a good-looking, gray-haired, 5'6", 194-pound middle-aged guy want to? Like, what control would I want? And what control would you give me? And how? Let's just say, for argument's sake, you and you and you and all of you decide to give me some kind of control over your life. First off, how would that make your life better? And how would that make my life better? I'm trying to reason out for myself. Maybe I need to think like a psychopath to be able to comprehend why anybody would think that controlling others is a good thing. It's not. I'll tell you this. If someone's doing a really good job in leadership positions, whether it be mayors or regional managers or premiers or governors or whatever it might be, if they're doing a really good job, then everybody is out there working and making money, and nobody even knows who the mayors are or the regional managers are or so on. Because good leaders just kind of disappear into the fold. A good leader makes it so that everybody out there is not controlled and free to run their business their own way and free to succeed in their own way and fail in their own way. But when you start controlling what people do, there's going to be nothing but personality clashes, nothing. So this Mark Carney guy even wrote it down in his own book that profit is bad and that control is good. And I vehemently disagree with both of those points. I think he's a moron for having said so, or perhaps he is literally a psychopath and he wants to get control of all of you. All right. He also says he wants to replace market value with social justice. Let's talk about that one. This computer mouse. This cost me $10. Yeah, that's right. $10 at Best Buy. I got this mouse when I accidentally stepped on another mouse I had. I got this 5 years ago, maybe 6 now. It's safe to say I got value for my money. I'm quite pleased with this little device here. Now, that $10 went into a mouse that I have used for the last 5 to 6 years to make money with because it controls this lovely computer in front of me, which is 8 years old now. I got my value out of that too. Now, what if I took the $2,000 I paid for the laptop and put it into social justice so that Antifa and Black Lives Matter could go buy some coffee and discuss ways to destroy the economy? How would that help me or you or the homeless or anyone else? We know that it doesn't. Or this $10, what would I do? I could buy some marijuana for Antifa so that they are not so hyper all the time. But that's not going to make money. Antifa doesn't make money. Black Lives Matter doesn't make money. The Communist League doesn't make money. The Communist Government of Canada doesn't make money. Why would you want to be involved with social justice? And here's the other thing too, is why am I being asked by anyone to consider the feelings of anyone else? Why would that be? I am not asking any of you to feel sorry for me or to concern yourselves with how I feel or to concern yourselves with the fact that my hair is very gray compared to just short 8 years ago. Now, you don't have to care about these things. Look at my eyebrows. There's gray in my eyebrows. Yeah, is it upsetting to me? No, but let's imagine that it was. Would I want all of you out there wasting your time concerning yourselves about how I feel about these eyebrows turning gray? No, you shouldn't care about that at all. I should not care about the feelings of anybody else. I should not care what anyone else does in bed. I shouldn't care about any of this stuff. Don't ask me to do so. So all these social justice programs that have come out in the last 10 years, they cost money. They don't make money. They cost money. The only people getting paid are the graphic designers and the sign printers. That's it. No one else is making money on these things. So I want nothing to do with social justice at all. I would like the free market to exist where every single person out there is free to have their own opinions and free to say whatever they want whenever they want, unless, of course, they're on private property, in which case you have to abide by the rules of the landlord or the landowner. And I would like there to be a complete removal of government interference from every decision that I make to do with making money. The only time the government should be involved in my life is when I break the law, blatantly and belligerently break the law. That is when the government should have a little bit of control over me. If I'm running around naked like an idiot breaking windows, I should be arrested, covered up, thrown in the back of a police car, and taken to the local police station for processing, and then get bail maybe, and then face the consequences of those actions. That is when the government should be involved, is when a huge social contract is broken. Don't steal, don't kill, don't blow stuff up, don't do any of that stuff. Those are laws. Those are good to enforce. But the rest of it is not. So Carney is talking about controlling you. And if you think the radical leftist laws and rules were crazy before, wait until you see what this nut job does and how much money this country is about to lose as a result. So we have Canada being closed for business. We have no homes being built that are being built with Canadians in mind. The new homes that are being built, they're junk. They're being built with foreign invaders in mind. And like I said, they're going to turn to slums in less than a year. So the average Canadian cannot afford a house and cannot build a house. When I was still living in Calgary, there was one street in an industrial area, had not been built up yet. There were 40 campers parked on the side of the road. 40 campers on public streets. Now, I don't care, and I feel bad for these people that they couldn't afford to buy houses. But trailer parks began popping up all over the province of Alberta, and people don't go there for summertime anymore to relax. They live there full time. That's a sign of the times, everyone. So this Carney guy concerns me greatly, and he should concern you. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to be explaining to all of you how you need to protect yourselves and protect all your money. You're going to have to protect absolutely everything you have. Fortunately, I know how to protect it all. And the other fortunate part is I know the laws inside and out. And Carney's not going to be able to replace those laws anytime soon because he's only got a minority government. Now's the time for Canadians to start moving their wealth into places it cannot be found or stolen from by the government, because it's the government who's going to take it, no one else. All right, so I'll go to this last thing here. The tyranny of the Liberal Party of Canada and liberal politics in general, it's not over, folks. It's just starting. It's like yesterday was the beginning of the end of whatever was left of Canada. It is all over. So now Carney is going to be coming for the rest of whatever business you have. He's going to be coming for all of your fuel, your food, and your future. You could imagine, because of the aberrant lifestyle this man leads, that children's aid societies right across Canada are going to be given more capacity to take children. That's what they do. You can expect a lot more of government-funded kidnappings across Canada. That's what liberals do. This guy is frightening, and you should be concerned. So here's what I do for everybody. I take my 40 years of studying tax law in Canada, 20 years of criminal law, 20 years of civic law, and I know how to get you back all of your corporate tax money. Or better yet, if you've got such huge corporate tax debt that we simply cannot get your taxes fixed, I will buy your corporation from you and just take all your debt. And I can do that in less than a day. That is what I do. I take all this knowledge and I help Canadians get their money back. All right. So, Jonathan, could you please watch your language in the chat rooms? We don't allow that kind of talk here. there's something you'd like to say, rephrase it politely, please. I understand the liberal mindset because I've studied world history for a very long time. World history in general always fascinated me because by the time I got to grade 8, there were all kinds of names of civilizations that don't exist anymore. I always wondered why that was. The Romans don't exist anymore. In fact, even Voltaire was highly critical of the Holy Roman Empire that came after the Roman Empire, where he said it himself that the Holy Roman Empire is neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. He wasn't wrong when he said that. But why did the Roman Empire collapse? Why did the Persian Empire collapse? Why did the Babylonian Empire collapse? Why did the Indian Empire collapse? Why? Peloponnesians, they're gone. The Greeks, they're done. The Ostrogoths and the Visigoths, they're gone. The Germanics, their tribes didn't last very long. I mean, the country of Prussia no longer exists. So what happened? Now, I studied why these things happen. And the common denominator is always a society begins to think left. Left-wing thinking always destroys every civilization out there. And I was also asked the question once, would I rather live in a civilization during its ascendancy or during its decline? Now, when I was asked that question, Canada was still ascending to its final peak. I was asked that question in 1987. And it was a question that was asked of me because there's that incredible movie you might remember called Revenge of the Nerds, which is a question that is asked within that movie. And it was a question that for some reason in the Toronto region, everybody was asking everybody else. Now, I was 17 to 18 years old at the time. I didn't really have a philosophical outlook on life, but I've been pondering that question ever since I've heard it. And I can tell you that I have officially lived in both. I grew up during the last little bit of the peak of the ascendancy of Canada and the Western world in general. 1994, done. So we've been in that crash. Now, what I can tell you about a nation's ascendancy is that there's decadence everywhere. I'm going to say that the late 1980s were incredibly decadent. I remember working at a grocery store making $16.50 an hour cutting vegetables. We're talking 1987. I had another part-time job driving forklift, 25 bucks an hour in 1987. When I was 18, I took a job on as a disc jockey, making 400 bucks a night plus tips. That was incredible money back then. I was clearing $2,000 to $3,000 a week as a teenager back in the late 80s. And we're talking a time when entrees were $5 at a restaurant. So think about that. That is decadence. That's an incredible economy. Naturally, it all crashed. Bad leadership and currencies crash. That's just what happens. So I want to say that living in the complete descendancy of the Western world, it's not frightening for me because I can handle myself. I'm the kind of guy that has gone to war zones, not for kicks, but for the educational purpose and because I was doing journalism at the same time. I've lived in incredibly rough areas, but it's frightening for children. And it's frightening for, let's say, women who are 5'2", and it's frightening for old people, and it's frightening for those who have no exposure to that whatsoever. I get that. It's a frightening time. So I want to, I just want to say that you are in the descendancy of the Western world, and you need to prep for it. I'm not talking about digging a hole in your backyard and building a bunker. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being mindful of how the economy works now. You have incredible commodities, for example, that you can buy right now to protect yourself. Gold and silver. If you head out to places like Sri Lanka or Bengali and other places as such, you can buy gems for pennies on the dollar and sell them. You could very easily get your hands on a whole bunch of really amazing gemstones. And I've actually been invited to head over to Sri Lanka to possibly invest in a gem mine. Thinking, all right, well, I'm going to go see this thing for myself before I even consider putting a penny into it. But yeah, what if it was a mine where I had 10,000 rupees a month coming out of it? There's some pretty good money to be had there. You can't lose with property, no matter what anyone says. There's no way to lose on property when the entire property market of Canada is propped up on money laundering. It's going to go up between 2 and 12% a year, depending what neighborhood that you're in. So diversify your portfolio. You got to ride this out. You got to understand that you cannot have all your money in one bank. In fact, you shouldn't even have your money in a personal bank account anymore. You got to protect all your money in numbered corporations, because guys like Mark Carney are going to find some way to take your money from you. And the only way for them to do that is they have to know you have it. And if you've got a personal bank account, that's attached to your social insurance number, and that is what they will report to the government. And now the government knows that you have that money. So let's think about that. All right. The condo market. Actually, that's a good question. JT Trader. In Canada, stay away from it. The condo and the townhouse market in Canada are a complete and total con. Total scams. You're paying property tax on something that's in the air. So it's not even like there's a benefit to paying that tax. The building is already there. You just happen to be up, and you still got to pay property tax on it, plus condo fees, plus mortgage. Yeah. Plus parking spot. Not interested. And they're almost impossible to sell now because they've priced themselves out of the market. I wouldn't touch the condo market in Canada ever. All right. So I'm going to take questions now for the last part of this. I've said my piece on Mark Carney. I'm telling you the economy of Canada is going to get worse. It's not going to get better. But you can still prep for it. I'm not going to fearmonger you. I'm going to tell you I got answers. And if you look at the last 20 shows of the Tax and Money Show, you'll see how many answers I have on all of these issues to do with taxes and finance and money and crypto. Alrighty. Top C. By law, do we have to pay property taxes? Okay, that's an interesting one. Not by law, no. But property taxes are the easiest taxes to enforce by the municipality. So if you don't pay your property tax, the city will eventually make a play to take your house over from you. It is the only tax that I recommend Canadians pay. The only tax. Fortunately, in a lot of places, property tax is still less than $4,000 per year. That's still high, but it's manageable. Pay your property tax, but don't pay income tax, don't pay GST, don't pay any of that stuff anymore, okay? Sorry, I'm really thirsty today, guys. I worked out very hard at the gym today. I did a 9K power walk to the gym, worked out, and did a 9K power walk back. I got here just 10 minutes before showtime. Oh, my Lord. I've gone through like 2 liters of water. I'll be up all night peeing, I'm sure. Alrighty. Ozzy Rollier is asking about rural areas. Sorry, what's the specific question that you're asking about them? Wealthy Peasant says, condo boards raise fees whenever they want. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll vote themselves a part-time salary and then a raise, and they'll vote to raise your fees in order to pay for those things. Condo boards are pathetic. I want nothing to do with any condominium where a Canadian is in charge of it. I've been through this many times. The condo market in Panama is dynamite right now because there are a lot of American and British companies that are involved in it, and a lot of Spanish companies involved in the condo market here. Condo market, the fees are low. I actually was chatting with a family member today, in fact, and we started working out my monthly expenses here in Panama. You want to know why I live in a condo? First off, the view of the Panama Canal is remarkable, but my internet bill, $15 per month. Water, $4. Gas for my stove, $8. Yeah, I'm not kidding. My electricity, flat rate, $60 a month. Pretty damn good because I run the air conditioners all day. I've got lights on in here all night. I've got couple of laptops running all the time, and I'm charging speakers, microphones, and cell phones all day. I burn up a lot of power. And then we got my grocery bill. It's about $30 a week, $32 a week if I don't go to restaurants, which I don't do very often. And then we've got my internet. I made a deal with an internet company down here for 2 years of unlimited talk, text, and data for 2 phones. Cost me $1,200 for 2 phones for 2 years, unlimited everything. Yeah, that's right. My condo fees are $148 a month. My God, what? I don't even think I'm spending $7,000 a year to live in Panama. And we talked about earlier in the show, profit is good. And profit is really good when you have high profits and almost zero in the way of living expenses compared to the rest of the Western world. I'm not going to say come to Panama because I did. I'm just saying these are things to consider. You can live a hell of a life, a really good life in places like Panama, Colombia, and El Salvador because there are very inexpensive things to purchase. And those countries want to be rich, so they allow investment any which way you'd like to do it. Pretty cool. Saint Martin, you make an interesting statement there. Get a hold of me, please, on my website if you don't mind. And could you please put your name, Saint Martin, in the subject line? I would like to address exactly what you've just said there in your comment. Please do so. School taxes. Well, school taxes are built into your property tax in Canadian municipalities. It's really difficult to not pay them unless you sue the school board and win. But we've talked about this earlier in the show. The Canadian courts are so corrupt, they're not going to let you win. So unfortunately, just that's until I figure it out. I will eventually figure out how not to pay property tax. Until I figure that out, pay your property tax. But contact me, make me your tax guy, and you'll never pay income tax or corporate tax again. Ozzy's asking, what about capital gains taxes? If I'm your tax guy, you'll never have a capital gain. Ever. Legally, of course. Legally. Okay, so is property better to invest rural or urban? Well, urban's not necessarily an investment unless you know that you're buying land in an area that developers were prospecting. In which case, yeah, buy land and sell it to them. Or buy a big chunk of land and parse it into 20 parcels of land and build 20 houses on them and try to sell them yourself. But in reference to making money fast, you want to buy inside of municipalities if you know the municipality is one that people actually want to live in, because rent. And if a house is going to go up 6% a year, you can count on the fact that you're going to get about 5 to 6% of the value of the home currently in rent as well. So imagine making a 12% increase in your money every year by buying houses in urban settings. Like I said, in Canada, if you're looking for investments, do not buy condominiums in Canada. Do not buy townhouses in Canada that are run by condo corps, because you actually don't own the structure. You really don't. You're just owning a temporary time that you can be there. They are ridiculous. I highly recommend that you stay away from them. Let me check YouTube's chat room. Hold on a second here. Hi, Kevin. You and I had a nice talk on the phone some years ago. I'm 73 now. Found a nice little place to live in Cambodia. Moving there permanently this year. I'll never return to Canada. Robert, my sincerest congratulations. Well done. Cambodia, just like Vietnam and the Philippines, they're growing fast. I had a friend of mine who was in Thailand recently. He sent me a whole bunch of live video of all the new architectural projects going on there. Holy smoke, is Thailand looking good. The rest of the world wants to outdo the Western world, right? The East wants to be the West, and they're working hard on that. All righty. So I'm going to have a look now at the Rumble chat room for questions. All right. Okay, good question. So Weethorn on Rumble is stating that the CRA is constantly removing, or sorry, not removing, moving towards sending letters, like large volumes of letters, making statements that you have to get your taxes done by April 30th. That's not a law. That's just what they want. Who cares what they want? If someone's not paying me to do something, and if we're not really good friends, I don't give a crap what you want. You're not getting it from me. And why is everybody in such a rush to do what a piece of paper tells them to do? If you don't owe tax money after April 30th, there are no penalties because there's no fees to penalize. That's all. Make sure that I am your tax guy and there'll be no fees. Everyone's got to stop the panic. Fear is unbecoming and it makes you make mistakes. Calm it down. Listen to what I'm telling you. The CRA is not a police force. They hired 30,000 DEI hires from god-awful places around the world. These people can't think for themselves. They are no threat. You have me on your side. Believe me, I'm the threat to them. Okay, Saint Martin, as it stands right now, we do not have a black guy who works for us, but we have a lovely black lady who works for us currently, although I don't know why skin color matters. She's awesome. Okay, how do you avoid paying taxes at the supermarket and other stores? Oh, man. Marry a native chick. That's how you do it. Or become really, really good friends with one of the native chiefs and become an honorary member of the tribe, which they will do for cash. But I mean, the bribe you'll have to give them will probably be more than what the cost of your taxes at the grocery store are going to be. That is an issue. But you didn't hear this from me, and I wouldn't suggest it because I just wouldn't suggest it. There are places to get your hands on a native card with a legitimate native number that you don't pay tax with. I don't recommend it, but I'm just saying that that kind of thing exists. Probably on the dark web. All right. Let's check Facebook questions here. Okay. And I'm going to continue now with the TikTok questions. Maverick says, I live in Canada, but my income comes from another country. Should I file a tax return in the CRA? Yes. Your taxes will be $4,000. That's it. Because you don't pay tax on anything less than $13,800. That's all. It's none of the CRA's business that you make money in the United States. It's none of the CRA's business that you make money in Dubai, Panama, Mexico, wherever. Why do you want to tell the CRA what you do? Shh. That's it. Shh. Quiet. They don't need to know. There's no law that says you have to tell them. Not a one. Not one. Top says, then what about crypto gains and an exit banking strategy? Again, crypto gains are ridiculous for you to even consider telling the CRA. Why would you do that? The crypto market is completely out of touch. It cannot be touched by the banks, by the government, by anybody. So if it's yours, if you've got crypto wallets out there and you're making good crypto money, quiet, man. It's just, no, don't tell the CRA that you had a gain. Look, you buy Bitcoin for $100,000 a coin and it skyrockets to 1.4 or 140,000, we'll say. And then you do your taxes with that $40,000 capital gain per coin. But then Bitcoin drops right down to 94,000 and you report the capital loss. Will they accept the capital loss? Sometimes they don't. So you have to appeal their decision. It's better to just not talk about your crypto. It's better to shh, quiet, exercise your right to remain silent. You are not obligated to tell anybody anything. The cops will tell you. You have the right to remain silent. Yeah, you do. Shh. Don't tell them anything. Oh, for anybody who's asking me about pricing here in Panama, if I'm talking any country that's not Canada, assume I'm talking US dollars, which I am. So I'm talking, everything's US. Yeah. This San Pellegrino beverage I just finished off, $1, $1 US. So $1.38 Canadian for that can. It's a luxury item here, so it costs more. But this monstrous pack here, which was like $60 back in Canada, it's a battery pack. I got it here in Panama for $9 US or 12 Canadian. Yeah. Every country in the world where you're quoting currency, it's either US or Euro. It's never Canadian. Nobody wants Canadian dollars. Nobody cares about Canadian money anywhere. What's the cost of OHIP healthcare? OHIP level healthcare. Oh, are you, Jake? You're not implying that healthcare in Canada is good, are you? There are some hospitals in Panama that are expensive, and there are some that are cheap. There are some that are horrible, and there's some that are fantastic. I happen to know where the good ones are that have good pricing. Right? I happen to also know where the most expensive one in Latin America is, and I wouldn't ever take you there. Even though it's a really remarkable hospital, I wouldn't take you there because the prices are too high. But you can buy health insurance here in Panama, especially if you're a gringo. Why would you not want to do that? And then the health insurance company can cover everything. One thing I would like to maybe point out, though, I get this question all the time. I got denied health insurance because I smoke. Can I sue the health insurance company? Well, yes, you can sue them. Will you win? I had no idea. My question is, why smoke? If health insurance companies find out that you're an alcoholic or you like to put cocaine up your nose and whatnot, they're going to deny you premiums, or they'll make your premiums so ridiculously high that you're not going to be able to have health insurance anyway. There is positively nothing wrong with living a healthy lifestyle. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend that everyone try to be better than their former self. I always believed in the notion that to be a gentleman, you don't have to put on some fake act for everybody. You just have to be superior to your former self. And there was a day, look at me now, I'm 194 pounds right now. There was a day I was 272 pounds. Entirely by fault, and I dealt with the problem. And everyone out there can do the same thing. So if you want to get health insurance, not just Panama, any country around the world, don't be a smoker, don't be a heavy drinker, don't be a drug abuser, right? Maybe avoid excessively aberrant lifestyles as well. A lot of times there are certain people out there that like to do certain things in certain ways, and they end up with certain diseases in certain areas that I don't really want to bring up here. But if that's the lifestyle you live, that also will get called out by the insurance company and so on. I'm not saying be a squeaky clean individual. I'm just saying that health insurance is affordable if you live healthy. If you don't live healthy, then they're going to make you pay. It's that simple. Can I just stop paying corporate tax after I've already been doing it? Well, yes, you can. If you don't currently owe anything in the corporate side of things, then you can shut the company down, keep the bank accounts running, but you can shut the company down and just report to the CRA that you shut the company down. And so long as, again, all your taxes are up to date and you don't owe any money, they'll leave you alone. But if you owe anything, they'll chase you for it. What I could do is I can buy your corporation from you and register a new one for you, and you start over, never filing in the first place. Kev Bat asks, are you suggesting that we should all leave Canada? Well, if you're looking for some kind of a future that's not going to be left-wing politics and the insanity of the LGBTQ groups out there and all the other radical groups out there and mass immigration and violence and all the other associated nonsense that comes with how the country's been run. If you'd like to make money, yeah, you should get out of Canada. It's not like anybody in Canada who does not already have an established business that for at least 10 years is ever going to make money. So I would. There's nothing to fight for, by the way. You saw how many Canadians ran to the polls to vote Liberal. After all those years of Trudeau, they put the same party back in power. You really want to be there? I know I don't. Jonathan says, so you're not in Canada? Maybe. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not, Jonathan. I'm everywhere, Jonathan. And I'm nowhere, Jonathan. Why do you care, Jonathan? That's the question I have. There are some people out there that ask really ridiculous questions because you're trying to, one-up me in some particular way? Maybe I'm in Bogota right now. Maybe I'm in Moscow. Maybe I'm downtown Calgary. Do you really care? Go ahead and answer me. All right. How can I save CPP and EI remittance? Okay, Jess, that's a really good question. I opened up a payroll service company. Well, what you would do if you've got staff, let's say you're in Ontario, only as an example. In Ontario, a $100,000 salary, the person has to pay $26,000. Then you, as the corporation, you have to give the government what you take away from your staff, but then you also have to match the CPP and the EI at a higher percentage. So it costs you an additional $5,800 per staff member per year. With my payroll company, you don't pay that portion of it. You don't pay the CPP and the EI. That's right. The corporate matching, it's my gift to you. I handle the rest of it for you. You just send me over the source deductions and you send me over your payroll stat, and I take care, well, my team does. We collectively take care of all of your payroll for you. And that way the CRA is never going to chase you again for payroll taxes. By the way, everyone, I noticed that we don't have enough hearts yet. So can we get everybody on TikTok? Double fingers right now. Double fingers, get going. Let's get the likes flying up the screen because the algorithms love it when all of you kind people fire hearts up the right side of the screen. Can we get everyone sharing tonight as well? On Rumble, the little thumb up, it's right here. It's right here on Rumble. Could you just thumb it up? And if you're on Facebook, could you like it? Throw me some happy faces. Over here on Instagram, hit me the waves, give me the thumbs up, give me smiles, give me something there, folks. It all helps. It's very important that people get this information that I am sharing with Canadians and Americans and so on so that we all can make more money. I want all of you watching me right now, even the ones that don't like me. I would like all of you to be out there making more money. And I have worked it out that the average Canadian could be very wealthy within 3 years if they just stop paying all their taxes. But you got to do it legally. That's what I do. I get you out of the taxation system completely and totally legally. Could everybody right now watching on Instagram share, please? Let's get the shares going here, everybody. Let's go back to your questions. What's the best way to cash out $1 million in Bitcoin? Call me. You call me. Go to my website and you and I are going to talk. I would buy, if you've got $1 million in Bitcoin right now, I would buy that Bitcoin from you in a heartbeat. But I got to talk to you privately about that. Oh, and just for the record, if I'm buying $1 million of Bitcoin from you, Jake, you're going to be right beside me. All right. We're going to be at this desk right here. This will not be a wire transfer game at all. I've played the crypto game long enough to know that kind of thing. So I will buy all your crypto. If anyone's got crypto, I'll take. I love crypto. I can't stand fiat currencies anymore. I would rather take Bitcoin than any other form of payment right now. So if you got $1 million in Bitcoin, get a hold of me. Let's do it. Oh, Sheep of the Shepherd is asking me what the proverb is that I wrote. Thank you for asking. When you make a decision based on fear, it is 100% wrong 100% of the time. Kevin J. Johnston. Now, what I always meant by that is when you look at the history of the world, there's a saying in Latin, which I think is kind of cool. It was always said to frighten children, like go to bed, do your chores, or Hannibal ad portas, which was Hannibal is at the gates. Hannibal was the military leader from Carthage who could not breach the military triremes surrounding the ports of Italy. So they decided to walk elephants through the Alps to get into northern Italy to sack Rome from the north. What an incredible guy. So children always thought that Hannibal was going to make another attempt at this. Even after he was dead, everyone thought Hannibal was coming back. So I want to say here that Hannibal and guys like him no longer exist. Saber-toothed tigers are not hunting us anymore. Human beings, unless they're silly and go swimming in an alligator pit, human beings are the apex predators of the world. Every single environment out there pretty much can be controlled by human beings. If you want every snake on an island dead, as human beings, we know exactly what to do. Poison the soil, burn the trees, kill all the snakes off, start over. These are things that we can do. So the whole of existence needs to fear us, not us fear the world. And what I did notice is the only thing that people seem to be afraid of in Canada is the friggin' CRA. It's weird. It's weird that you're afraid of this faceless institution. It puts adults into states of panic and tears. What are you afraid of? Oh, I don't want to go to jail. That's the first thing. They're going to take my stuff. Yeah, but have you heard of the courts? Have you heard of court injunctions, filing motions? Have you heard of filing criminal charges against the CRA representatives who are harassing you? These are all kinds of rights and freedoms that you have. Go to war, man. Go to war. Stop being afraid. Jelly Bean Mama, I have not received my taxes from the federal government for 3 years, total $3,000 per year. What kind of tax are we talking about? Is that child tax benefit? Let me know. Sager, what are my fees? Well, it depends on what you're getting, Sager. If your personal taxes are extremely uncomplex, $350 per year. Mid-range, $650 per year. Complex, $950 per year. Extremely crazy, stupid complex, probably about $2,000 per tax year. If you're looking for corporate taxes, $1,950 per tax year for easy, and it gets bumped up from there. If I take over your corporation from you to have you walk away from your debt, it's 10% of what your entire debt load is, and you get to walk away. Does the CRA have investigators that follow business activities? No, they don't have that at all. They only have you doing your tax return, telling them you're telling on yourself to them. You're telling them what you got. That's why they take your money, is because you tell them that you have it. No, they don't have investigators. God, that institute, investigators. My Lord, no. They do what's called desk audits. They send paperwork to you, and you probably think that you legally have to answer these questions. You know, whenever you get paperwork from the CRA, there's nothing wrong with cleaning up after your dog on the lawn with the paperwork that they send you and mailing that back to them. That's your answer. You don't have to answer their questions. So no, the answer is no to that. I was a contractor working under my corporation. I haven't paid them or filed tax. What's next? Well, I mean, nose wiped. If you have told them that you make money, they will chase you for that money. There's no two ways about that. But if you keep your mouth closed about even having a corporation in the first place, no. So if you've done taxes before and your corporation does not owe any money, you can get away with just not doing taxes. Yeah, that's true. You could. They'll eventually ask you to, and then you can do what's called a null return, where you literally put the word NULL at the bottom with a 1-paragraph letter saying you currently do not conduct commerce. You can do that. Lord Croman 54. Hey, Kevin, if you have a kid and he never pays tax, does he have, he never pays taxes, does he have to go forward in the future? Oh, I see what the question is. Okay, that's a very good question. When you do your first tax return as a kid, then you've inadvertently signed a contract with the CRA to be a tax remitter. But if you never, ever, ever do your first tax return to the CRA, they don't know anything about you. I mean, you'll be paying taxes on your T4, but you don't actually legally have to do your first tax return and sign their stupid contract. It's just that you'll never get your taxes back. That's all. Does the CRA know about all the bank accounts you own in Canada? No, they don't start looking until you owe them money. And with them, it's your social insurance number. That's what screws you. So it's a good idea to just not have your social insurance number with you and take a fake one in with you. There are fake generators of SIN numbers. Why not? It's the SIN number that screws you. That's it. If you can find a way to not have your social insurance number active, then they don't know where you bank. But if you do everything, people, through a numbered corporation, there's no way on God's green earth that the CRA will know about your money. You just can't be the director of the corporation, be the shareholder, and you're good. Is there a lot of property for investment in Panama? Ozzy, yeah, you know what? There is. All depends what you're looking for. I mean, do you want to be beachside? Do you want to be in the downtown core of Panama like I am? Do you want to be in the mountains like the town of Buquete, where the temperature is 65 degrees? It's about as hot as it gets. And you'll see there's a lot of Canadian and American style trees that grow at that height. Buquete is beautiful. It's like just a great temperature there. Plus, it's beside a volcano, which is 12,000 feet high, and it took me 7 hours to walk up that thing. Yeah, there's investment land there too. There's a whole bunch. G-Man. Okay. Okay, G-Man, I see there's a question that you're asking there. The CRA sent me a refund of $10,000 last year. Now they want it back. How can I fight this? Best advice. Let me redo that tax year and the tax year before it, and I'll get you back that $10,000. What they'll do is they'll tell you which tax year they think that they didn't like your return on, and that is the one that we got to find and redo that tax year. That's how we deal with that problem. If you retire early in Canada, do you need to tell the CRA? Because it'll be, oh, no. You don't tell the CRA anything. If you're going to retire, just shh. Unless you got some big pension that you know about, shh, quiet. What I would do is I would put you down as having a part-time income with major part-time expenses that would negate how much tax you would pay on your pension fund. So there's always a way around that. Let me know. Someone says socialism rocks. There's someone who doesn't study history. Okay. Someone's calling me a goat, I think. Not sure what that means, but that's okay. Do you give prices doing taxes? No, I've already talked about prices here, folks. Chaz says he went to Sri Lanka to visit family and he swears it was better than Canada. Yeah, probably. Absolutely it was. I was talking to a guy named Reg at the CRA and he said you were committing tax fraud again. Who's Reg? And if I was committing tax fraud, do you know who would make a phone call to me? The Royal Canadian Mounted Police would make a phone call saying, hey, man, you're committing tax fraud. Turn yourself in. They've got my phone number. Every police department in Canada has got my phone number. Every politician in Canada has got my phone number. I am a former journalist. I don't do the journaling nonsense anymore because it doesn't make money. But I can tell you this, I've cost a lot of politicians a lot of money. I've stuck my nose into a lot of public affairs. And as a result of having a big mouth, which I do, I am not popular with government. So the cops, they've got my phone number. On a moment's notice, if I was committing tax fraud, I'd get a phone call from the cops. And do you guys know what would happen when the cops call me? I would instantaneously put the call on speakerphone and record it, and I would announce it. Hey, guys, guess what? RCMP call. Here's the conversation. Because I can tell you this, any conversation I'm having with government of Canada is not a protected conversation at all. And in fact, if you want to be an enemy or an opponent of mine, those conversations are not going to be protected either. The conversations that I protect are the ones with my clients. The second someone decides to become a client of mine, I'm not just your tax guy. I'm your legal agent, which means that we are in a client solicitor privilege relationship. So legally, I can't talk about anything that you and I discuss. So when I'm talking about files, you notice how I've never given a single name on anything I talk about? Yeah, that's right. And nor will I. But if you're a politician or some cop phoning me saying that you want to discuss the fact the CRA doesn't like me very much, okay, no problem. I'll record the call. I'll ask a lot of questions. And when they start asking me way too many questions, I'm going to give them my lawyer's phone number and say, call him. No, icky. I don't commit tax fraud. Doesn't matter what the CRA says. The cops would be the ones to gauge that, not them. Jonathan Taylor doesn't like me very much. That's apparent. Okay, 1 second. I'm just having a quick look. I seem to be a little bit behind on the questions here. There's a lot of questions I have to go through. Sorry, folks. I'm going to just scroll here through these things quickly. Is there hope for people living in Canada? There's a hope for mundanity and boredom and brokenness. Yeah, I mean, there's hope for movies to go up to $50 a piece, and there's hope for a whole chicken to cost you about 50, 60 bucks in the future. Sure. There's actually hope for nothing good. Like I said, it's now officially over. No political party who is conservative is ever going to hold power again in Canada. It's done. I've warned you. I warned all of you this would happen. Here it is. I don't care. I haven't lived there for a while. Advice on taxes on my goods being imported into Canada. Well, okay, Princess, who are you paying the taxes to? I need more details, please. Sam says, I'm full-time on a T4, working from home, and I get a T2200. Any idea on how to maximize my tax saving? Yeah. Medical expenses, because you'll probably have legal and marketing expenses, and the T2125 form, which is all of your part-time expenses. Every single penny that you spend to make money, you record it. Everything. Pens, pencils, erasers, paper, toner, everything. Remember I told you I got an OnlyFans model as a client? Yeah. I got permission to tell the story. I don't have permission to name her or her channel. But she flew to Panama to get those done because those make money. And we wrote the whole thing off as a marketing expense. Teeth cleaning, got her ears tucked back a little bit, got bigger boobs, the whole bit. You can write the whole thing off. Marketing. That medical expense is like $40K US in write-offs. And if you are a public speaker like myself, all your dental, your haircuts, clothing, anything to do with you making public appearances, you can write all that off as marketing. Absolutely every single penny. When the barber cuts you a receipt, you could write that whole thing off. Now, the other thing you can keep in mind as well is that you're allowed to make statements that the barber is not only your hair cutter, but your hair fashion consultant. Oh yeah, a couple of barbershops I've worked with in Canada. That's what they would do, is they would give advice, like brush your teeth. It's good advice. and they would put down massive expenses for hairdos that cost $20,000 because of the consultation that went with it. So you write the whole thing off, not as a grooming expense, but as a marketing expense. There you are. Hope that helps. Canola Girl asks, what do you feel about tax court? Well, it's not a court. It's a tribunal, and it has no power. And they say on their own website that they have no power. So I think nothing of tax court, but we still use it because it's fun. Okay, Jonathan, I don't understand what your problem is with me, but I need you to be careful. I'm going to boot you in a second there. Just be polite. Thank you. CEO says, my bill is $100,000 this year and I can't pay. Should I leave the country? Well, no, you don't do prison time for owing money. But when you say that your bill is $100K, are you talking a corporate tax debt? Are you talking a personal tax debt? But what are you talking about? I need to know what that means. If you could elaborate just a little bit more, please. Appreciate that. Okay, I'm just reading your questions here, everybody. Someone doesn't like my suntan. Oh my goodness. I guess that's a reason not to listen to me, right? Yeah, there you go. See? I missed. I missed. That was the life jacket that I was wearing when I was riding a Sea-Doo at, I don't know, 70 kph for 3 hours. It's a shame he doesn't like my tan. I guess we're not doing business. Red Bar, good question. I took out my pension and it was taxes big time. Well, that's because I wasn't your tax guy at the time. We can redo that tax year and put in your medical. If you're at retirement age, you could probably have about $20,000 a year worth of medical expenses to put forward. If you're retiring, there's probably some legal expenses that you forgot to put in there. If you're retiring, maybe you're doing something part-time, like a part-time hobby farm or fixing cars, whatever it might be, and you bought yourself a whole toolbox, you can write the whole thing off, plus the storage fees. Did you know? Check this out. You can register a numbered corporation, put your house into the numbered corporation. The numbered corporation can then rent out the garage of that house to you for $10,000 a week. And you get that $10,000 per week rental write-off. And then the holding company can move those funds to another holding company. And then you can bury the corporation and start over. These are all the crazy things that you can do. Right? It's all just paper, everybody. It's arbitrary nonsense. It's just a dog and pony show. None of this stuff makes any sense to me. Well, it does make sense to me. It's about ripping you off every which way imaginable. Mirza says, we got the CERB benefit with a legitimate job before the new. Okay, so if CRA wants your CERB money back, it's $950 for me to get rid of that imminent threat that they'll keep throwing at you. Jake says goat is a compliment. So when I got called a goat earlier, that's a good thing. So although I don't know what it means, I'll just say thank you. Appreciate it. Goat means greatest of all time. There we go. We got clarification. You know, I cannot disagree with that. And I won't disagree with that. Thank you. Canola Girl. I had bookkeepers that had late or not all. I see what you're saying. Okay. Bookkeepers are not accountants. Bookkeepers are people that just take your receipts and take your profits and put them into a spreadsheet. That's all that they do. They don't know tax law. They don't know tax code. They don't know what they're doing on tax returns. So A bookkeeper is someone that you have internally in your office just to deal with your own internal paperwork. And for those who are looking for my phone number, only clients get that, guys. You know, I'm sure you could imagine if I gave my phone number out publicly, I'd never sleep again. So just get a hold of me through my website, please, if you want to do that. If your bookkeeper screwed you up, I can fix taxes, guy. I can go back 15 to 20 years on taxes and fix them. And if we get a court order, they have to accept them. Oh, and for the record, the Canada Revenue Agency, everybody who works for the CRA knows who I am, okay? That's just how that works. So whoever this reg person is, who cares? And yes, I am wearing shorts for those who can see my leg skin. I don't wear pants in Panama. Who would do something like that? Not I. You don't like my legs? Is that what's going on here? My God, people don't like my suntan today. They don't like my legs. What about the hair? Icky, are you okay with the hairdo? It's not too old-fashioned, is it? Princess asks, I don't know. First time bringing products into Canada, Revenue Canada. Yeah, Princess, I need to know like where the bill is coming from. It may not be Revenue Canada that's charging. It might just be the customs agency. The customs brokers will get some money there, but the Customs Canada will take their fair share as well. I would need to know who is billing you and what the invoice says when they're billing you. All right. Sold by Paul. How to not pay a loan I took at the bank. All right. Well, if you took a loan or a credit card out with any bank in Canada in your corporate name, and you sell me your corporation, then that debt goes away. It becomes my debt to deal with. It's when you personally secure anything with the bank, that's where they screw you. If you did not personally secure the $40,000 CERB loan you're talking about, I can get rid of that for you. If I'm incorporated under my name and I haven't filed in 3 years, can they fine me? First off, everybody out there who owns a corporation in Canada, immediately remove yourself as director and just write a letter to yourself stating that you are 100% shareholder. The director is always the one that the CRA will chase for money. Never be the director, ever. All right? And then you're fine. Top C. Is it better to open a corporation in the province you reside in or another province? You can get what's called interprovincial corporations. You can also get federal corporations and do business absolutely anywhere that you want. But I would need to know what your thoughts are. What are you selling and what tax benefits are you looking for? I need to know more information. Okay, CEO says, if you're self-employed on your own social insurance number, then I have to do your taxes personally. It's personal tax if you're a sole proprietor. I can fix it. It's just a lot more work than corporate taxes are. That's all. But it can be done. Oh, Princess says, I believe I have to pay Revenue Canada for the products I bring into Canada when you sell them. Okay, Princess, here's my question. According to who? Who? Like I'm an owl. Whenever I talk to people, who told you that? Who said that you have to pay the CRA products that you sell? Who said you have to pay tax on your personal property? Who do you think is coming to your door to take your money from you? You can buy whatever you want and sell whatever you want. If you're not running this as a business, you're just doing it for kicks. It's like a garage sale. And you don't have to in any way, shape, or form tell anybody, hey, I'm running a garage sale. Come and tax me. And some people ask me that. Do I have to pay taxes on the stuff I sell at a garage sale? Again, who told you that? Where are you learning this from? You got to be very careful who you get information from. Everybody likes to talk, to sound important for that very short period of time that the conversation is taking place. So, Princess, always ask yourself, who told me that? Become an owl. Who said this? Why do I believe this? Who gave me that information? Were they qualified when they gave me that information? Is the person that I got the information from somebody who is of any value to me or my business? Who should you trust? Well, me, because I'm the guy that hates the CRA more than anybody else on the planet, and I'm the one that wants to see you get rich. So no, you don't have to pay tax on what you sell. That stuff belongs to you. Checking more of your questions here. What's my website? My name. Everybody who knows my website address, please go ahead and put it into the chat rooms. It's kevinjjohnston.com. C-O-M. My name has a T in it. Can you put your house in a numbered company if there's a judgment on the home? Well, what you can do if there's a judgment on your home is file a motion to have the judgment lifted. It's a little bit of work, but it's worthwhile. The day the judgment gets lifted, you got to move it into a numbered corporation. Filing a motion in the court is actually not as difficult as you think. A little time consuming, but it can be done. So get to work on that. A couple more questions here. Bryce is asking, who then becomes the director of your corporation? Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bugs Bunny, Peter Parker, Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent, Diana Prince, John Wick. Does it matter? Doesn't matter at all, because the director is only a figurehead. And legally, Bryce, you are allowed to have an alias in Canada. In fact, you're allowed legally to have as many aliases as you wish. And you are not obligated to tell anybody what your aliases are. So your alias could be something common and easy, like John Smith, John Jones, Paul Jones, Steve Jones, Indiana Jones, Florida Jones. Doesn't matter who it is, just as long as it's not you, because it's going to be you on the hook for GST and payroll and or any other fines that they want to issue at any time in the future. Gurwinder Mann, I have debt of $500,000 on my corporation. Good. Gurwinder, sell me your corporation. That's the kind of debt that I absolutely love to get my hands on. So get a hold of me on my website, please, and I will take that $500,000 of debt off of your hands for you. kevinjjohnston.com. That's a big number. Let's get rid of that entire debt, which I can do in one day legally, and that's the best part of it. Princess asks, can we talk privately? Absolutely. Head over to my website, kevinjjohnston.com. Grab yourself a consultation and message me through the contact form on my website, please. All right. Someone's telling me to go to bed. Probably right after the show, but I'll be going alone. You're not coming with me. What about profits on crypto? Do you have to pay tax? Nope. 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 Why would you tell anybody? Don't even tell people that you have it. You should not be telling anyone that you have it at all. Period. No, you do not have to open your mouth about any profit that you make on anything. You buy a car, you sell a car for profit. Shh. You buy crypto, you make lots of crypto in the crypto market. Shh. You make money on stocks. Shh. You sell a second house. Shh. You sell it. Doesn't matter what you sell. Shh. No. You're not legally obligated to tell the CRA anything that you sell. They might want you to, but doesn't care what I don't care what they want. You shouldn't care what they want either. So if the CRA is attacking you, can you change director when they already know? Well, how smart do you think these people are? That's the question I've got. And when you change director on a corporation, that happens every second of every day in every country all over the world. You have a vote and you think, Steve's not doing a good job, so now John's the director. You know what? John sucks at what he does. Now it's Farouk. Farouk, he's high on cocaine. It's no longer Farouk, it's Susan. Susan quit. So now it's Pauline. It doesn't matter who the director is. It doesn't matter what you think the CRA knows. The CRA only knows what you tell them. And you're also not obligated, I might add, everybody, to tell the CRA who the shareholders are on your corporation either. That is also none of the government's business. Stop talking about your personal lives. It is incredible how much information everybody wants to give away to government bodies for free. It's strange, man. Now, all these interviews that I see on YouTube where someone just puts a microphone in someone's face and people just answer every question. It's weird, man. Stop answering questions. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you to steal your money. Just shut up. No, you don't have to tell them anything. Shoferi says, I didn't do my taxes since 2016, personal or business. Well, actually, you know what? I like it that way because then your tax bill is whatever I say it is. So if you want your taxes done and not pay tax, let me know. Are there taxes on trading profits? Yes, if you deal with a Canadian brokerage house, because they're all cowards and they will hold money back because they're criminals. But if you're dealing with American brokerage houses, nope, not if you're a Canadian citizen. Well, gangsta baby, if the CRA has your SIN number and you are the director, then what you need to do is step down from being the director and have your alias take over as director. It's that simple. And if the CRA asks, lie. I stepped down because I'm dying from cancer. Please don't call me anymore. I won't be around much longer. I want to spend time with my family. Leave me alone. Oh, hi, CRA. I'm moving to Russia. Lie. Who cares? Now, what happens if you lie to the CRA? Your life gets better. What happens when you lie to the government? Your life gets better. You're dealing with institutions that do nothing but lie every damn day. So do the same thing. It doesn't matter if you say you're dying of cancer when you're not, because you're not under oath in court, so you can say whatever the hell you want. There you are. I bought crypto by tax-free savings from my bank and vice versa. I wouldn't involve any Canadian bank in your crypto decisions. And tax-free savings accounts, they're junk. They get taxed extremely heavily. Please don't do that. All right. Good night, St. Martin. Thanks for being here. Appreciate that. What about Quebec taxes? Do you take care of those too? To a degree. Revenue Quebec is quite insane. What we do is we get people who have Quebec-based corporations moved into Ontario where they no longer pay tax ever again. There's all kinds of tricks that we can pull in Quebec. What is the CRA? I'm old here. Canada Revenue Agency. The equivalent of the American IRS or the Australian ATO, but with considerably less power than the IRS and the ATO. Government put a lien on my house and my husband before he has a construction company. I need more information on that, please, if you don't mind. Are audits rare? Well, the CRA hired a lot of auditors, but if you know what you're doing, and I do, you just get rid of the auditor. I make polite phone calls to auditors saying, hello, Mr. Smith, or whatever your name is. Kevin J. Johnston here, legal agent for Peter Paulson. And I understand that you would like to audit my client. I'm going to say, sir, that we are declining the audit at this time. Thank you very much for your kind offer. And I also need to inform you that you are officially banned from communicating with my client ever again. And then we put no trespass notices to the CRA on my client's building, on the doors, their cars, their home for 30 days. We take photographs of that and we fax the photos and the no trespassing notice into every fax number the CRA has, banning the entire auditing department from my client's property. Yeah, you can do that. And I do this all the time. What are the pros of having a corporation if I don't have a business? If you have what's called a holding company, any money that you make, you put it to the holding company's bank account. And if you never do tax returns on that holding company, the CRA knows nothing about your bank account and the money you have. And then you are completely protected. Do I do American tax? Oh man, I wish. Oh my Lord. Have you ever seen how thick the IRS's tax law book is? Penn and Teller. Everyone knows that magician team, Penn and Teller. They did a show called Bullshit for the longest time. They did an episode on taxes in the United States, and they showed how thick the book was. It was somewhere in the range of 9 feet thick. It would take a little while to figure that out. So unfortunately, not yet. Have they ever tried to audit me? Yeah, one auditor gave me a phone call saying that he wanted to do a personal audit. And because I read the auditor's handbook, I decided to act upon chapter 10 of the auditor's handbook, and I turned it into a hostile situation, and the auditor had to drop the file. The insults that came out of my mouth on that particular, I was in a bad mood that day. I hit this guy with everything. Every insult that you ever heard and have never heard came out of my mouth that day. And that's when I told the guy, I need you to consider this interaction hostile and don't ever contact me again. And that was the end of it. They sent me a letter off saying they don't appreciate my hostile attitude and that they would never contact me again. Thinking, oh, golly gee willikers, that's how easy it is? Woohoo! So chapter 10, it's a real book, by the way, chapter 10. It's on my website, I think. Christine, is it still on my website? Chapter 10? Is there a blog entry I've got? Could you put the link out for people, please? Okay. So yes, I've got chapter 10 of of the auditor's handbook. And it literally says that when the situation becomes hostile, the audit ends right there on the spot. Can you play with the CRA if they knock on your door? Sure you can. Remember what I said last week about laser pointers? Yeah, why not? It's your door. It's your property. You do what you want on your property. These are not people that have any power whatsoever. You're not obligated to let them in your house. You're not obligated to answer their questions. You know, you could do really, at that particular point, whatever you want within the confines of the law. I mean, you can't throw boiling water on them. Don't do that. You can't say, hey, doggy, sick them, and then have the dog rip the skin off their legs. That's illegal. You can't shoot them. That's illegal. But you can get your video camera out and put it 2 inches from their face and ask them a whole bunch of questions and throw some insults at them and guide them off your property. You can do that. You can call 911 and say you've got a couple of criminals hanging out on your front porch. Come get them. You can do that. Yeah. Why not? If you're the kind of guy that knows how to have a good time with government employees, mess with them. Why not? What about CEBA loans if someone didn't pay them under a company and a company shuts down? If you personally guaranteed the loan, they'll chase you personally for it. If you are listed as director on the corporation, they'll come after the director. That's why I'm saying never be the director of a corporation in Canada, ever. There's no advantage to it. None. Ride's dad sent you an email, Kevin, coming to Panama. Can't wait to start doing business with you. All right. Ride, I can't read email right now. When do you arrive? Let me know. Gingy says the CRA wants $10,000 a month in payments. Okay. That's pretty crazy. I would need to see that tax file to get rid of them. That's absolutely, unbelievably, undeniably nuts is what that is. Give me a second. I just got to plug my phone in. I'm down to my last 5%. Unfortunately, I've got a really good battery pack here, so I think we're going to make it through the last 5 minutes. No problem. There we go. And it's telling me there's moisture in my phone. Oh, God. Can't win. All right. You mentioned they cannot take money from a corporate account. They froze and took deposit. Okay. That's not what I said. What I said is if you open up a numbered corporation as a holding company and put money into that company's bank account, they won't touch it because a holding company does not conduct commerce. You've never done a real tax return. Mike Martins, you call me after this show. I see you. You call me after the show, Mike. All right. Wait 5 minutes though after the show ends, okay? So you want to make sure you have a numbered corporation specifically as a holding company to hold money. When you put your money into that account, it's 100% safe because you're never doing commerce with that account. I'm down to my last 3 minutes here. What if they garnish your bank account for not paying GST or payroll tax? My God, if you have GST or payroll taxes to cover, empty your bank account now. Get a brand new numbered corporation. I'll open it for you. I'll write your corporate bylaws for you. Go get a new bank account, move all your money into that bank account immediately, or move it all into crypto immediately, or move it into an American bank account immediately. But you got to do something now. And then I can buy that corporation from you and take all of the payroll and GST debt away from you. If anybody wants to sell me their corporation, get a hold of me on my website because I want to buy 10 corporations a day. I love doing it. It's profitable for you and for me. The CRA loses, we win. That's how I love it. How do you remove a director from your corporation? Alberta makes you fill out a form. It's $25. You got to take it to the registry. Every other province, you can just log into the provincial website and change it there on your own. There we are. The CRA says they need to be paid. Yeah, okay. I need to be paid. Am I going to get $10,000 a month from you? Who cares what the CRA says? They're idiots. They don't have any laws to back them up. They are a criminal enterprise relying entirely on intimidation. All right? Sue them. Call the cops and charge them criminally with extortion. Have me fix your taxes and that bill goes away. Okay, I think this Jonathan guy, I've had my fill of this guy tonight. Jonathan, I warned you to be nice. You couldn't do it, so goodbye. That's enough of him. All right. I don't give my phone number out publicly, folks. That's only for my clients. You got to become a client before you get it. But if you contact my right-hand man, Christine, right-hand woman, man, Christine, who knows these days, get a hold of Christine. She's awesome, and she'll get you all booked in to chat with me and communicate with her through my website, which is kevinjjohnston.com. Chris Prateau is asking me, I want to learn more about you buying a corporation and how we can both profit. Chris, I only buy corporations in dire fiscal straits. So if you know someone who's got a lot of corporate debt, that's the company that I want to buy. I don't buy profitable companies because I have zero interest in buying companies that I would then have to run. I've got my own business to run. My business is to buy businesses that don't make money and are in huge, huge debt. That's when you want to get a hold of me. All right, everyone. I just want to say thank you very much for being here. We're down to our last minute. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Tax and Money Show, which typically runs every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time here on freedomreport.ca. Tonight we had to go 2 hours late for reasons. Not going to get into them, but I want to say thank you all for being here. It's always a pleasure to have everybody fill up the Rumble chat room and the Restream chat room, Facebook chats, D Live. What else are we? We're on everything. So thank you all for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate that. We're going to be back next week. I'm going to see if we can get a special guest to join us next week to talk a little bit more about the tax implications of this new Canadian government. So again, thank you for being here, everyone. I love you all, and good night.